Hello, hello. Today is we're doing the weekend prep going into or for the week ending in November 14th. So going into the week starting November 18th, I think, or 17th. So we'll do a quick run through of everything. So I did the kind of cross check for sentiment going into next week across the different AI models, and pretty interesting. They agree across the board for NQ. Everybody is bearish, so that is something to look into or kind of take into. ES a little bit neutral, neutral to bullish, neutral to bearish, but overall neutral. So I think if you want to follow sentiment, NQ is the clearer play going into next week. And then for gold, it's a bit mixed. And so Grok is bearish, GPT slight bearish, but Claude sees some bullish bounce activity here. So I I know I've been talking about a swing short on gold, and so that's something I'm just going to kind of keep looking into and keeping an eye on. So we'll see. But definitely, I think NQ could be interesting going into next week for a little bit more downside if you want to follow sentiment. So that is pretty cool. Quick look at just like how options flow and volume kind of panned out over, let's say, the last week or so. Um, so it's interesting. Like Thursday, we had a lot of take the price out. We had a lot more people putting in bearish option bets here on Thursday, and then Friday it was a bit muted, which is interesting, right? Like the volume picked up red, but then Friday people were really trying to buy on the stock side, and then pretty mixed right here on the options flow. Even Wednesday, it was they were all rising bets, but it was pretty neutral. And then back on the six, it was pretty bearish. So it's kind of interesting, just kind of to see how all that kind of panned out. Um, and so we'll see how Monday opens, but sentiment is definitely down. When we look at just interesting levels here, so we had that sell off, and then we pushed, pretty much, all the way back up, and then closed basically where we closed the day before. So that's kind of interesting to me. It can go either way, and if you kind of subscribe to the whole um, net gamma exposure and all that stuff, you can kind of see here. Well, if we can kind of get back up to this level, we'll spike a bit more potentially. Um, and there's like all of this is negative gamma, but right here is the 610 seems to be an area where we'll have to see how price reacts when it gets back up there. Are we going to shoot up higher or like really flush down? um, if we spike up, I think we could spike higher. Interesting for me, there's pretty big dark pools, 12.7 million dark pool traded here at this level. And so we're kind of above that. So that's an area that I'm going to be watching for tomorrow. But we'll see how, or not tomorrow, but for when Monday starts. But we'll see how that all works out. Um, I think, yeah, pretty interesting kind of sloppy price action for me so far. So on the SPY front, if we take out the price, not as pronounced. I mean, we had on whatever day this was, on the 12th, yeah, on the 12th, had more puts, volume, selling volume, and then kind of switching, right? A little bit indecision here on Friday on the SPY. So yeah, looks a little bit neutral, I think. And kind of similar. Actually, what's different for SPY, I think, is so we had like these negative gamma areas, big dark pool above that, which is fine. But then the 672 and the 674 is positive. So like if we get back to here, we might stick around. And so that might be interesting. But if we get below this dark pool level, it gets more negative gamma. So you could flush a bit more in theory if you follow that theory. So it's just something I'll be watching. And then for gold, like price up, down, but you know bulls really trying on this day, really trying on this day, but and then kind of neutral bets and not trying people trying to sell, but not really with high conviction. But there was some big, I guess, some big orders here on the volume side, which is kind of interesting. And so it makes me kind of question a little bit if I really want to short gold, but I still do. And so we'll see. When I look at the dark pools here, like even if it can get back up to here, this is big positive gamma area. So in theory, if you follow the theory, then price would kind of stick around, right? And so the higher up we go, the more positive gamma there is, and so price may just hang out and kind of stick around where it is and stabilize. If we can break below these dark pool levels, there's more negative gamma, and that's where selling off would happen. So, I mean, there's still a gap to close up here. So maybe we get up here and maybe there's more time for this short to set up. We'll see. Or maybe like completely wrong on that and this is it and we're going to kind of go back up. So we'll see. But it's interesting. We had big dark pool levels here, felling over, big dark pool levels here, down, big one here. So now are we gonna stay between these two levels or what? So we'll just see what the next week brings there. But that's how things look like on that front. On upcoming news, I think so. Government's back open, so that's great. So we should get this U.S. non-farm payroll. I also remember seeing on the news that we will get the September jobless numbers this Thursday coming up. Um, so yeah, so maybe these jobless numbers will be September, and we're going to catch up. So we'll see September, then October. So maybe we'll just still be delayed, which will be interesting. I wonder if we get to a place where it's January and we're getting the November numbers. Um, yeah, so that we'll just kind of see how that kind of shakes out. But seems to be some news will kind of come in, and it's interesting. Like, how would you? Because if we're going to get like 2 months old data for jobs, like how would the market react to that? If it's bad, like how would it react? Because we've kind of absorbed all through that. You know what I mean? And if it's good, how would you react? Because like we're like higher and moving forward from when that actually happened. So I think it's kind of interesting. Um, like delayed news type events. Might have to look at old government shutdowns and just seeing what happened there before. So that's kind of an interesting to keep in mind. And then so as far as notable earnings, so just kind of looking at the top pages by market cap. So I think XPEV will be interesting on Monday, and then I think that was the only one that I was really caring about. Tuesday, Home Depot is always interesting. Kind of just sees if we're spending money. PDD, yeah. Um, I think that's really all I care about. And then for Wednesday, big one in NVIDIA. So that's going to be a big deal for the Qs. So we shall see. Also, Target. I think Target's been kind of down recently. So let's see if it'll bounce back or not. Um, yeah, people are talking about this bullish one. I don't really follow it too much, but and then Thursday, Walmart into it. So those would be interesting. And Vips. I remember Vips from the COVID days. So that's kind of interesting. It's still around. Um, and then Friday, not too much on my radar here. So yeah, definitely watching for Nvidia. I think Nvidia will be a big one. Um, I think maybe Home Depot might be big for the SPY, and XPEV might be interesting to kind of keep an eye on. So that's what things look like for earnings. So I'm definitely watching for Nvidia. That's the top one on my list. And then so a kind of quick look on how price looked on Friday and closed. It's interesting when I look at the cues, it's like, man, you look at this kind of like we're up and then pushing up, down, like this whiplash type stuff. Um, and I kind of look at, oh, no, this is not the cues. That's where it looks different. Here's the NQ. So it's kind of the up, kind of like this double, like long kind of like pullback, but then like strong wicks up, right? And trying to see like, well, what did price do in the past like that? Like here down, up. Um, here, I wonder if how like this area kind of looks like up, down, whiplash, and then we finally push up again, and then we finally break. Um, I wonder if we'll have some of that here, right? Maybe going into this year, like it just holds up all year, and then January, maybe that's when we have our pullback. Um, that's also interesting to kind of think about. But I think, yeah, the price actions, you have the gap up and then selling off and then pushing up and then selling off, pushing up, selling off, pushing up, gapping down, gapping down, pushing down, strong wick, pushing up, and then you finally give up. And so I wonder if we're just going to have a bunch of that. So we'll see. I mean, like you zoom out, like we're going up, been going up. I think we're price is back down to where it was before the Chinese tariff stuff. Like that's kind of where we are, right? And so now it's just like where are we going from there? Like what's going to carry us forward? AI is amazing, all these things. So we shall see. I think that's kind of my read, just really generally across the board for everything. Wix or Bix had push up, and then we're kind of pulling back to 20s. So there you go. Yeah, dollar. Oh, Treasury yield's picking up, so that's interesting. Um, Seems like a positive signal there. And then for gold, yeah, so could be a pullback. I mean, I guess if I want to really look at gold from a, like a perspective of do I want to swing short it because I'm still curious about it. Like I'm watching price, but I'm also watching like cumulative volume delta and then seeing like the actual delta for each one of these candles. And it's like sellers are trying to step in. The cumulative is pushing down, but then they're picking back up here, right? And so now it's not that convincing. And then I like to follow the HMA too as kind of my signal to come in. So we haven't kind of cleanly moved under it. Um, so maybe like I know there's a bunch of positive gamma stuff here, so maybe we do kind of hang out and we just have to see what happens. And also it hasn't closed this gap, right? That we put there, so or that I put there. So we'll just see. We'll see how all that kind of pans out. um and then I guess while we're here, let's look at what the cues look like in this view, right? And so when I look at, so this is like the charts I look like for options trading, so I look at the 4 hour and just kind of pay attention to these things. um but you see, we had that kind of fall with the CVD, but it's still rising. Like you can kind of see, okay, now things are picking up on the individual candles, and now we're just kind of all over the place. And so I think we just have to find our direction there. And then for SPY, it feels like a little bit more bullish. So, there's that. Let's see NVIDIA with earnings coming. So, earnings coming, we've shaken off the sellers. Price action still down, but people are trying to kind of come in a little bit more buyers here on Friday. So we will see. We'll see how that kind of pans out. And then I'm just curious for Target from a SPY perspective. So yeah, Target's been down. I think here I was watching it. Like a lot of people tried to come in here at earnings and really buy into it. It failed on that. Now we're kind of at lows, near low. Well, here's kind of an interesting, and do we just kind of break more? So Target might be something to watch for an earnings play, but not really on my radar too much. Well, cool. So that's pretty much what things look like for me. I guess if we wanted to look at, well, we can't have. Um, yeah, I guess I can't see these for some reason on here. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think that's it for me. I guess going back to the indexes, I will just have to see what pre-market looks like on Monday, and then just kind of see what the trading plan is. But open to both sides as always. Just because like we had such a strong kind of recovery here across the indexes, aside from the Russell. Well, yeah, even the Russell. I mean, it broke the low, but it still pushed up. Dow made new highs, and now we're a little bit weak here, so that'll be interesting to watch. But yeah, I'm open to both sides. I don't know if it's the end of the world yet. It may come on January. Let's see. Cool. Well, that's it for me. Good luck, and we'll be back here next week to get everything going. Thank you.